Okay, so technology is not working out very well for me today, and for whatever reason, my connection keeps cutting out on me. So, for those who are just joining me again, I'm very, very sorry. I hope that the internet will work out right now. If this cuts out on me again, I'm going to try to troubleshoot, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm going to probably work on doing a live stream a little bit later today. So I'm very, very sorry that it keeps cutting out. If you lose me, look for me. Hopefully I'll pop up again in, 1 to 2 minutes. So, hey Angie, hey Lucy, really good to see you guys. So, again, my name is Rebecca, and I am the admin and creator for MG Unmasked, and so I'm hoping that this live stream works, and I look forward to interacting with you, hopefully via live stream at least once a month, and to try to start doing more of a live community feed and to do a Q&A session, to share stories, so just to try to increase awareness and interact with the community a little bit of a different way. Hey Madeline! So if you want to say hi and let us know that you're here, that'd be wonderful, and I am going to pull up hopefully another video and see if this works. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, it is not. So we're going to work with what we have. So there have been a lot of people who have asked me over the years if I have MG or if I just became interested in the field. So yes, I am a myasthenic. I was diagnosed officially on September 22nd of 2011. Hey guys. I was just shy of my 23rd birthday, and I was a very sudden onset. My case was not a progressive case. I did not start with any ocular symptoms, so it was very difficult to diagnose. Within 2 weeks, I went from having a lot of fatigue to difficulty breathing, swallowing. I was choking, hey guys. And so very quickly it progressed to life and death situations. I think within 2-3 weeks, I was already struggling with respiratory issues and trying to get help. Everybody told me that I was crazy. Go figure. So I went through 2 spinal taps in a period of 48 hours, and on my second spinal tap I was paralyzed from the waist down, and that really delayed my diagnosis at that point. So I spent 4 weeks from that point in a wheelchair, and I got told everything from I'm the wrong gender to I'm too young to have MG. I was crazy, psychosomatic, I had anxiety, depression, etc., etc. So I spent the better of 4 weeks in a wheelchair or in a bed. I could not use my legs at all. In fact, we had visiting nurses that kept coming trying to rehab me, and my legs would turn blue. And so, because I couldn't use them, I couldn't feel them. I always like to tell the story that my dad accidentally ran over my foot with the wheelchair one day, and he's freaking out, and I couldn't feel a darn thing. So those 4 weeks really impeded me from getting further care. So I would stay home in bed or in a wheelchair, and I was struggling to breathe. I was drooling. I was having trouble swallowing. But because I was in a wheelchair and paralyzed, everybody kept looking at my legs, and everybody kept saying this is not typical for myasthenia gravis. I went into the ER thinking I'd had a stroke or Bell's palsy, and ended up being ruled out. I didn't have those things, and instead of them looking to MG, they kept looking at everything else. And it took a pair of visiting nurses coming to my house who looked at my legs. I literally would have a walker, and I would try to use this walker, and I would just drag my legs behind me. I couldn't use them at all. I actually have video that I haven't been brave enough to share of me in the hospital with PT, and they were trying to get me to walk, and it was literally me just dragging my legs. I could not pick them up, I couldn't feel them, I couldn't move them. So finally these visiting nurses came, and they said, you got to go to another hospital, you have to get checked out. So I went to a new hospital in the ER. I decided to start fresh with this particular ER, and immediately the doctor said, I think you have myasthenia gravis. And we had been familiar with it because my grandmother also has myasthenia gravis, and we kept asking them if I had MG, and they kept telling me, oh no. I did. And so that kind of became the starting point. I wasn't officially diagnosed that trip. I was admitted, and they started the right blood work, and I had an incredible neurologist who sat with me. He said, you know, I really think this is what you have. But before my blood work could come back, he got called away to a funeral in another country. And his associate stepped in, and his associate kept telling me that they didn't believe me, that I was crazy, that my legs, they kept going back to my paralyzed legs. And he told me that I belonged in a mental institution and that I belonged in a straitjacket. And every day he came in and told me he was from Johns Hopkins University and that he knew MG and that he was betting his license against me. How long did it take me to get diagnosed? From onset of symptoms all the way through paralysis and then finally getting my diagnosis was about 7 weeks. But again, I was a very rapid onset, so I very quickly morphed into critical condition. So he discharged me with documentation recommendations that I go to a mental institution, and went home, and about 2 or 3 days later got a phone call. Said that my blood work came back positive for MG, and they took me, and they took me into their office, and they said, well, and I was in a wheelchair still at this point. I could not move, I could not use my legs, I had no idea what was going on. They handed me Mestinon, told me to take it 3 times a day, and patted me on the hand and said, see you later. That was it. I had no education, nobody told me what to expect, nobody told me anything. They didn't try to comfort me, none of it. So I was wheeled out with a lot of questions and a little bit of meds. And I remember the first couple times I took the meds, the first dose, I felt great. I still couldn't feel my legs, but I was able to move. And then my second dose, I started sweating, I got very dizzy, the room was spinning, my vision was changing, and I remember feeling very weird. And again, I didn't know anything, so I kept taking the dose. By the third dose, I was so diaphoretic, and I was having such a hard time breathing from the dose. We called 911, went to the hospital. The ER doctor was wonderful. He said, oh, we've got you on too much. So they bumped me down from 60 milligrams to 7.5. So I went home on 7.5 milligrams, and I came back 2 days later because 7.5 milligrams is way too little. And so we kind of played this game for a couple of weeks where we were trying to get a doctor who knew what they were doing and try to get the right medication regimen. Marty, this was in Central Florida. This was Florida Hospital. So this, it was very scary. So, you know, in the meantime, I have no idea what to do. I'm terrified of this med, and it turns out I'm allergic to Mestinon. So in the middle of all this stuff, in the middle of being overdosed and then underdosed and then going through a crisis, I still couldn't use my legs, and I was having severe headaches. Yes, you can share this. I was having severe headaches and I couldn't stop vomiting. I'm actually allergic to the bromide in Mestinon, and I didn't know it, and we kind of found out. I got so sick from Mestinon, I said, I can't take this anymore. And, you know, they kept, oh, you gotta take it. I said, no, no, I don't. So I got off Mestinon, and thankfully I discovered that they make a drug called neostigmine, which some of you may have seen me post about. And neostigmine is the exact same drug, it just does not have the bromide. So I got on neostigmine, they started giving me IVIG, and in the meantime, in spite of all this stuff, so I have an official blood work, I'm responding to Mestinon, I'm responding to IVIG, and they're still telling me that I'm crazy and that I don't have it. So, and they kept going back to my legs, they kept referencing the paralysis in my legs and that it wasn't congruent with MG. And so it just kind of became this huge fight in the hospital while I'm trying to get treatment. I'm having breathing difficulties, And we finally got a psychiatrist to come in and say no, she has MG. So it was really, and I'm deleting a lot of in between stuff, but this is the general progression. So it just became a very bitter battle just to get diagnosed and just to start getting help. By my 5th day of IVIG, I was able to walk again. I'll never forget the 5th day PT coming in, and each day I was able to do something different. So first day, nothing different. Second day I was able to wiggle my toes. Third day I was able to move my ankles. Fourth day I was able to actually swing my legs over the bed. And then by the 5th day, I was actually up and walking around the unit. And it was a really special thing for me because I wasn't really sure if I would walk again. And so my mother got to watch me, and all these nurses got to watch me start walking again after all this time. So that was an incredible moment for me. That was October. I spent from October until January back and forth. I was in the hospital 9 times within a very, very short period of time. I would go up to ICU for respiratory difficulty, and I would, be moved back down to the unit within a day or two. They told me there's nothing wrong. They told me they didn't know what to do. At that point, they were recommending thymectomy to me, and the physician who was recommending it couldn't even spell myasthenia gravis, so I wasn't feeling super comfortable with him. And he's the physician who tried to blackmail me into getting a thymectomy. He refused to give me IVIG unless I agreed to do thymectomy at that moment. But I was not stable, I didn't feel secure, and I was terrified. I was terrified of getting cut open. I had the transsternal, so I had, my chest cut open. And just like many of you, when you message me and you're scared and you're saying, I don't want to do this surgery, I get it. I was there. I refused to do the surgery for the exact same reasons. I wanted to do the non-invasive, because who wouldn't? And so I had a very hard time. I finally got into a reputable doctor, and he kept me out of the hospital for 4 months. So the first 4 months of my diagnosis, I was in the hospital several times a month. Got to the right doctor. I was out and fairly stable for about 4 months. Just what I needed was stress. And it was very, very bad experiences, very, very bad experiences. I went through 7 or 8 neurologists locally. None of them knew what they were doing. And I finally went in to do the thymectomy in late April, early May. I was there for 35 days. And within those 35 days, that is where the bulk of my trauma comes from. I struggle with PTSD. It's very hard for me to still talk about. I coded during this 35-day experience. They overdosed me with Plex. They overdosed me with Mestinon. I went through a cholinergic crisis. I was in the ICU. Out of 35 days, I think I had 11 trips to the ICU. Rapid response kept coming back into my room telling me that I was crazy, kept telling me that it was just because I didn't want to leave the hospital, and that's why I was going through difficulty breathing. ICU nurses didn't know what to do with me. It's very scary to code, and I remember the very first time I got IV Mestinon. I had other issues going on, and so they had to give me IV Mestinon, and the very first time I got it, I lost my vision. My eyes kind of went like this, and I could not see anything but blurred colors. And I didn't know that was the Mestinon at the time. When I got the second dose is when I went through complete paralysis. So the nurse pushed it, and within seconds, my whole body was paralyzed. I was choking. I had all this saliva. I was dripping saliva out of my mouth. I couldn't see. I couldn't speak. I couldn't swallow. I literally could not move. So I fell back, totally paralyzed, on my bed. And my mother is holding me, screaming. The nurse has no idea what to do. My mother's screaming at the nurse, please go get help, please go get help. My mother is cradling me, so I'm trying not to choke, and she's cradling me and trying to suction me. And I can't see anything, but I can hear everything going on around me, and they're saying, oh my gosh, she's coding, she's coding, she's coding. And it's a very strange encounter. You're very aware of what's happening, but you can't stop it. And so, thank God for my mom. If my mom had not been there and she hadn't been holding me, I wouldn't be here, you guys. So God bless the team that came into me, and they did whatever they could. The nurses were incredible, and they rushed me up to ICU, and they put me on BiPAP, but they had no idea what to do. They had no idea what was happening to me. And thankfully the dose wore off pretty quickly because it was IV. And the neurologist actually came in to me and told me that that was stress, that was anxiety, that I didn't overdose. And I have no words. I fought a lot with that particular neurologist during the 35-day stay, and it took me 35 days to realize what a cholinergic crisis was and that it can kill you. And so when I stress cholinergic crisis, I'm telling you it can happen. I'm telling you it's serious, and I don't want you to go through it. So sometimes I harp on it because I want to protect you. And even from respiratory therapists and doctors and nurses who mean very well, and they don't really understand that they're harming you. So my job, my passion is to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So that 35-day stay was very traumatic. Obviously, again, I'm leaving out a lot of details. I was so critical at one point that they were going to airlift me to another hospital. We ended up getting discharged. We had to back off my Mestinon dose a lot, stop the Plex. I did not have my surgery. Thankfully, I did not have my surgery. I refused to have my surgery during that stay. And I got discharged at the end of May. And I came home, and from the end of May until the beginning of August, I pretty much laid in bed. I didn't move. I did not move from my bed. And I was still struggling to breathe, to swallow, to talk, and even though I had an incredible neuro, he was kind of at his wit's end. There was not much else he could do. So in the beginning of August, I traveled down to the coast of Florida and to a specialist for thymectomy, and I had my transsternal done. And I gotta be honest with you, it was the scariest thing I've ever gone through outside of the crises and the code. I've never been through anything quite as hard as thymectomy, but it saved my life. Thymectomy was I was hyperplagic. My thymus gland was 11 times the normal size. So I was a very good candidate for stability. 8 months later, from a very scary and very hard to recover from thymectomy, I was off Mestinon or neostigmine. So I have been off of Mestinon, and I have been stable with my MG since May of 2013. So I'm just on prednisone, and it's really kind of an incredible thing for me to go back to my story and to remember where I came from to where I am now. And so there's a great passion I have for trying to connect with education and good care, and trying to get not only the physicians educated, and not only getting you plugged into the right physician, but getting you educated so that you know, hey, something's happening, something's wrong, and this is what I need to do. Because I gotta tell you, there are not enough out there who know MG, as many of you know, and if I can help protect you from going through what I went through, then everything I went through is worth it. And I don't want to see you struggle. I don't want to see you go through crisis. Obviously, I can't control everything, but I would love to do everything that I can to protect and love this community. So that is my passion, and my passion, you know, is to walk with everybody as they go through this. And I mean it when I say that I love each and every one of you, and I love what I do, and it brings me so much joy to be able to walk with you and be able to, even if it's just be there to listen to you vent, or to cry, or to be upset, or to take your phone call, or to get your message. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. You message me, you call me. That is my joy. That is my privilege. That is what I'm here for. I remember wishing, when I went through everything that I went through, that I had somebody that knew what MG was like and what it was like to live with it, and how I could, sorry you guys, I wish that I had somebody to walk with me and hold my hand and love on me. So that is what I'm here for, to do with you guys, and I treasure you, and you challenge me, and there are so many things that you ask me, I'm like, but it teaches me, and it's a beautiful mutual benefit. And so I hope that you guys feel loved and feel protected and feel like you have somebody who is going to walk with you through this. So oh, I love you guys too, and thank you. You guys are awesome. I really do love you. You guys are incredible. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to type them in. I'll try to catch every question as they come in. Just so you know, in regards to my vision and what I would like to do, I have been kind of, oh, I love you guys too. I have been very close-mouthed about my upcoming projects, because all the big projects that I've had scheduled so far, I mean big projects, okay, national, international projects have been taken from me. So I have a tendency to post my projects, and I get really excited about them, and I start working on them, and they've been in the works for years, some of these projects, and I turn around and another organization has them. So I'm not trying to not share projects with you all. I'm just trying to be very careful and protect kind of the hard work and the intellectual integrity behind these projects. So whenever I share the fundraisers with my shop, with the t-shirts, with the artwork, etc., I promise you the funds are going to something legitimate. I can tell you that it's going to be something similar to what we're doing now, but on a much bigger scale. So it's going to involve video streaming, and it's going to involve the medical community, and it's going to involve patient awareness. And so I really hope that this is something that we can get plugged into, and I love you guys. I love you, Angie. So this is something I'm very excited about, and I'm getting ready to launch. I'm also going to be doing a photo campaign that's hopefully going to go national. I'm very excited about that, and that is hopefully going to launch in June. I do have other health issues that are going on. So some people have asked me about my scar. This is where the tumor was removed back in September. And I did a lot better after my surgery. And now I'm kind of tanking again. So I'm back in the spot of severe bone pain, joint pain, muscle pain, insomnia, weakness, headaches, on and on the list goes. So bear with me. My projects sometimes get a little bit delayed, and but I am working on them, and I promise you every single day it is stuff that I am trying to integrate, and I'm trying to pay attention to what you all need and what you all are looking for, and trying to make sure that those things get implemented, because I want to make sure that the projects that I'm working on are actually meeting real needs in the community. I don't want it to just be my fantastic ideas that I want to get I I just wanted to say thank you for hanging in there with me, and thank you to those who have supported and who have gotten involved with fundraisers. So I look forward to the next launch, the next project, and yeah, so that's it. And I'm also, just give you an update, I am still working on the alternative meds list for pharmacy. So we have the contraindicated meds list, and a lot of times it trips up doctors and patients because they have all the drugs that we're supposed to avoid or be careful of, but we don't have alternatives. And so it can get kind of sticky when you're in a situation where you need a particular drug but you don't know what's safe. So I am still working on that list, and hugs back to you guys. I am working on that list, and I'm hoping to get that finalized and approved, because I don't want to just put together a list and work with some pharmacists and not run it by specialists. I want to make sure that these are drugs that specialists approve of, and so it kind of is a slow-moving beast, but I promise you I'm working on it, and so I hope that this is something that can further augment what is already out there, and hopefully benefit the community. When it does come out, I will publish it on my page, obviously. I will also put it into the patient packet and make sure that that is going to be integrated into that patient packet, so it's there for you, and I will repost the new patient packet at that time. So hey everybody, I don't know who's bringing in the religion stuff. We don't fight on this page, okay? This is a page that is an incredible community. This is a page that loves everybody. This is not a page for division. So if anybody starts that, I love you. I don't want to do it, but I will ban you from the page. So I really hate having to say that in this video because I'm loving interacting with you like this. But let's leave all that stuff out, okay? This is a community for MG. This is a community to support, and this is a community, hey guys, that loves each other. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care. I'm going to love you, and everybody's going to love each other here. So let's just play nice, please. So yeah, does anybody have any questions? I know I had seen somebody have messaged me a few questions about my diagnostic experience, but if you have any questions about what I've shared so far, or about my journey, or if you want to ask any personal questions about me, feel free to type them in. Hey girls. So somebody has just asked me, let's see, what is a cholinergic crisis? Okay, so a cholinergic crisis that I was describing, that I went through, is an overdose of the medication of Mestinon. Okay, I appreciate that, Benny. I'm not trying to stifle you. I just let's keep this focused to MG. So cholinergic crisis is an overdose of medication. It is a rapid hyperactivation of the neuromuscular junction, and so this frequently manifests itself with excessive salivation, lacrimation. You're going to challenge me. I'm going to see if I can know this off the top of my head. Excessive salivation, lacrimation, meiosis, severe pronounced weakness bilaterally in the upper and lower extremities, difficulty breathing, bulbar weakness, so difficulty swallowing and speaking. Typically it's a very rapid change. Okay, so myasthenia crisis can also have a very rapid change. Cholinergic crisis typically is a little bit faster depending on the modality of how you are taking Mestinon. So if you're going to get it through IM form or IV form, cholinergic crisis is going to be extremely rapid. If you're going to take it through oral tab, it can take 45 to 60 minutes for that peak onset for you to start noticing those symptoms, okay? If you're noticing symptoms of cholinergic crisis at that mark, you need to call your doctor, because this is something that has to be adjusted. The recommendation typically is that that dose is cut in half, but please, please, please work with your doctor. If they don't know what you're doing, give me a message. I will do my best to try to be a liaison for everybody, and try to guide. I can't dictate, but I will definitely try to guide. Hey Lisa, or hey Jamie, I'm so glad you had thymectomy, and I'm sorry that you're in so much pain. I hope that this is something that hopefully bring stability and remission for you. If you have any questions, please let me know. I know it's really hard. The biggest thing I learned as a tip with the post-thymectomy was to have a pillow, and I lived in shirts that buttoned up in the front because all that movement really, really hurt. So I had to learn that the hard way. Let's see. How long after MG diagnosis did I have my thymectomy? It was 11 and a half months later. So the recommended trajectory, ideally, is within a year of your diagnosis. That sets up, research has found that within that year, if you can have thymectomy done, typically those are the patients who have the best response. Of course, there are going to be some considerations, like MuSK patients typically do not do well regardless of when they have their thymectomy. Thymoma patients may or may not do well post-thymectomy. Typically ACHR patients, seronegative patients, and those who are hyperplagic are the ones who benefit the most from thymectomy. I always recommend that you do not use scans as an indicator if you should have thymectomy. The only reason a CT scan should be used is to look for thymoma. That's it. Okay? Because of where the thymus is located. Okay, so here's your sternum bone, and it is kind of sandwiched all in there. The CT scan does not get a good visual. With your heart and your sternum bone and your rib cage in there, it's very difficult to get a good visual of the thymus gland, and thymic tissue can hide all the way up into your neck, all the way down near your diaphragm, and it likes to hide in adipose tissue, which is fat tissue, okay? So that's why it's very important for them to open you up and get the best visualization possible. And you know, it's not the best solution as far as pain and recovery, but I'm telling you, long term for your MG, it is the best possible alternative, bearing in mind your health history. Okay, so there's some context there. It's also important that they remove all of your thymic tissue. Okay, if they leave just a little bit of thymic tissue behind, your thymic tissue can regrow and you can relapse, and your MG can come back even worse than before. So if you have reached a point of stability, and if you have, you know, post-thymectomy, and a year or 2 years later, all of a sudden now you're crashing again, it would be a good idea to double check with another CT to make sure that there is no thymic tissue that has regrown in there. Okay, ooh, this is a hard question. How do you tell your family and friends that you may die? That's a hard question. I'm going to leave that as an individual response. For me, I said that my MG had the potential for me to, yeah, Jessica, I agree with you doing that as a thymectomy, plain English. Hey Chuck, let me know what you want me to revise as plain English, and I promise I'll try to go back and rephrase my stuff. But you know, with MG, I think it's so variable, and I think it's an individual choice. If you want to disclose that there is the possibility of fatality, I know this is the big controversy in the community is MG is no longer fatal. I don't ascribe to that. I do understand the premise that MG is not fatal to the point of, oh, okay. MG is not to the point of fatality like it was years ago, okay? And because of intubation and because of you know, plasmapheresis and thymectomy and things that they have developed and perfected a little bit, you know, and with good respiratory care, yes, fatality is not what it is. But as many of us know who are part of this community, we have seen many die. So that is something that is a part of this disease. It's a potential. The way that I handled it, I actually had a very hard time getting extended family to listen and pay attention, and I think to understand the potential. Even when I went through crisis, even when I coded, kind of got the sympathy, but I don't think it really registered for people that I almost died on them many times. So I chose to disclose to people that I had a muscle disease that was treatable, but difficult to treat, and had the potential to be fatal if it was not treated correctly. And, you know, some of us unfortunately have gone through good treatment and still gotten really close to that line. So I have chosen not to continue to disclose that to people because most of the time it kind of goes over their head. I tend to tell people that it's just something that can happen. So, you know, to be extra graceful with me, to be extra loving with me, to be patient. You know, if I can't go somewhere, I can't do something, I'm trying to guard not only my health, but the potential for my life. So, that's kind of where I leave it. I'm sorry that was a very vague answer. Everybody's going to want to handle that differently. Some people don't want to mention it at all. I know some people get very upset about talking about it. Some people refuse to admit that's a possibility. So, you know, I would just try to go as grace-filled as possible and, you know, be as honest as you want to be, and be prepared for people to maybe not understand, or maybe to look at you and, you know, and read things online. That is my big kicker. They'll read things online. I can't tell you how many messages I get. I get from caregivers, I get it from family members, I get it from patients who will read things online and say the dreaded phrase we all hate, that most patients lead normal lives, or nearly normal lives. And so then when you try to talk to family members about it, they say, oh, well, I've read about MG, and I've heard it's no big deal. You take your meds, you're fine. So when you try to incorporate the component of, hey, this can be fatal, a lot of times that is falling on deaf ears. So it's an upward battle, trying to fight what's online and trying to fight the stigma. But it's a disclosure of your own choosing. And I know I had somebody who messaged me and said that they included their family on my page, and that their family started taking them seriously when they started noticing that I was posting about other people's deaths. And so unfortunately sometimes I think they have to kind of see it to believe it. Hold on, I'm trying to look at other questions. Hey Kevin, I'm very sorry that you're scared. What can I do to help you? What can I do to alleviate your fear? How can I come alongside you and encourage you? Feel free to message me. You can message me right now. You can comment. I know it can be a very scary disease, and I know in the very beginning especially, trying to kind of get that learning curve. MG is something that's not easy to deal with. So please, if you're scared, reach out on the page, reach out to somebody. It doesn't have to be me. I don't pretend that I am God's gift to MG. Or to this community. I'm just doing what I can to help everybody along. So if it's not me, you don't feel comfortable reaching out to me, that's perfectly fine. I won't get offended. Reach out to whoever you want. You don't know what to expect. You guys are asking me things that are throwing me off. I'm just kidding. To be honest with you, I don't know what to tell you to expect, other than to expect the unexpected with MG. I like to tell people that MG can behave one day, the next day it is presenting poorly. So it's very, very difficult to kind of put a parameter and expectation on MG. Just when you think that you have it figured out and the right medication regimen and you got it all cut and dried, MG likes to surprise you. So at that point, I would say to plug into a really good community and to make sure that you really start connecting with people, whether it's on this page or in other groups, so that when you have questions and concerns, you can kind of pull them up. If you want to talk about your bad day, I'm free to talk with you about it right now. I'm very sorry that you're having a bad day, and I wish I could be there to walk with you in it. So my next question that I got is, how old am I now? I am 28 years old, And so I've had MG not quite 6 years, and it feels like a lifetime, I gotta be honest with you. I really don't remember a whole lot of my life before the MG kind of started. So I've had chronic illness issues prior to the MG, but the MG was kind of the catalyst for everything going crazy for my life, kind of being turned upside down. Can I define stable? I'm going to use the word stable as it relates to myself. Stability is loosely defined as well controlled. So you are not having frequent hospitalizations, you're not having the ups and downs with treatment. Some people are considered stable on very little treatment. Some people are considered stable on, an aggressive regimen, but that aggressive regimen has gotten them stable. So stability does not mean that you do not have symptoms. It just means that your symptoms are well controlled and stable. Remission is where, now you can have pharmacological remission, so that's drug induced. So the medicines that you're taking are keeping you asymptomatic and stable. And you also have sporadic remission, which is your body just sporadically will go into remission. That was kind of self-explanatory. And then you have post-thymectomy remission. So remission is classified as asymptomatic, okay? So you do not have a presentation of MG. That does not mean your MG cannot relapse. So don't think if you're going into remission that, this is a cure. You may be in remission the rest of your life. You may be in remission for 2 years, 2 months. But stability and remission kind of have that defining line between the two of them. I consider myself stable, not in remission, because I do have periods of time where my MG does flare on me a little bit. So that's the main difference there. Hey Kim, I gotta give it to you. Being a mom, I'm not a mom myself, but my heart breaks for all the parents out there who have MG and who have kids and who are trying to be there for their kids, and you're tired, and raising kids on their own is a very tiring experience. And so I have a lot of respect for you, and I'm so sorry that you're tired, and I hope that you can get some rest really soon. You're very welcome, Ruth. My next question here is, how do you deal with your family not paying attention or getting invested with MG? I don't know the answer to that. This is something I struggle with myself. I have spent many, many nights crying, especially in the early days of my MG, over the lack of family involvement. I've had a few key family members who have, prayed and been invested and called and try to check up, but overall my family, they don't even know that I have this page. They don't know what I'm doing. They're not invested at all with the MG side. So if I'm in crisis, they'll kind of stop and say a prayer or something. They might call and check once in a while. That's about it. So my immediate family has been incredible. I live with my immediate family, but I kind of, for the first 2 years, I spent a lot of time being really hurt, and then I started getting plugged into the local MG community here in Orlando, and then I got plugged in online here, and so this kind of became my new family and my new sense of direction and acceptance and love. And so for me, I just kind of had to redefine what family was, and I had to give my other family grace that, for them, they don't understand how serious it is, and they don't understand, the potentials behind it, and so for them, it's just, oh, Rebecca's sick, and they keep going with their lives. So I just try to apply grace at this point and keep moving and doing what I'm doing and just plug into my family that's on here. I've read about my MG by getting worse symptoms as part of Cornelia, are you saying that you have MG and lupus together? Because if you are, that is a very hard battle. I don't know how many of you have multiple autoimmunes on here. I have thyroid disease on top of the MG, and I have a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So it's very difficult sometimes with the fatigue to really know what's causing it. Trust me, MG by itself will cause fatigue. It will cause bone-numbing, coma-inducing fatigue. So if you are having fatigue and it's draining the life out of you, if you're sleeping a lot, I highly encourage you to go back to your neurologist, because at that point, I would be concerned that your regimen is not optimal. You should have fatigue with MG. That's very normal. If you're to the point where you're struggling to function, and if you're to the point where you're so tired all the time that you just cannot get out of bed, you need something else to help you with your MG. So I highly recommend you going back to your physician. Hopefully you have a decent physician. A lot of times I hear people say that their doctors say that MG cannot cause fatigue. It's an autoimmune disease. All autoimmune diseases are going to cause fatigue, so I don't know why MG is put in a special box of saying this can't do it. It absolutely can cause fatigue. So the next time your doctor says that to you, it's just not true. Let's see, what's the next question here? It's very, very difficult. This is something that I get a lot of questions about, is how do I not let MG define me? And it's very difficult. We have a disease that can be all-consuming, and if it's not the symptoms that are consuming us, it's very much our treatments. Okay, so we have side effects from medication, Mestinon, IVIG, whatever we got going on. It's disruptive to our lives. There's so many things that we have to be careful of. We can't have foods with high magnesium. We can't go out in the sun. We can't go out. Well, you can go out in the sun, okay, but you can't go out when it's really, really hot. You have to be careful of how much repetitive activity you do, things like that. So, it's how do you not let this disease consume you? And I think there kind of has to be a defining line of saying, again, if you are to the point where your symptoms and your treatment is so consuming that you can't function, if I were a medical person, which I'm not, I would want to go back and revisit your regimen, where you are and how you're responding. Again, optimization is always the goal for MG, and it should always be reached for. How to not let it consume you past that, I gotta say, it's kind of a daily thing. It's one step at a time. I'm actually having a physician call me. Sorry, that's in the background. It's just kind of a one step at a time thing, and it's really kind of giving yourself a lot of grace and giving yourself the ability to say, right now this is consuming me. Today I'm having a really bad day. And I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I know it gets very complicated when you're trying to work, when you have spouses to take care of, when you have children to take care of, when you have other components that are involved. It's very, very difficult to not let it consume you. Again, I would go back to trying to get physically optimal, and from an emotional standpoint, really give yourself as much grace as possible, that this disease can be difficult to deal with. I'm sorry, that was a really, really bad answer, and I'm really sorry I don't have a better answer for everybody. It's something I struggle with myself. I have days, and the last 3 days, I was going to try live streaming yesterday, and I spent all day laying in my bed. I couldn't talk. I was in severe pain. It was just this all-encompassing, that fatigue that you get when you're restless and you just can't cope with anything. You can't even make a coherent sentence. And that was the last couple days for me, and it just was very consuming. And so, even being somebody who's a veteran, so to speak, of having the disease, it's very difficult to not let it consume you and to not let it kind of enfold you. And so what I've tried to do is try to give myself the thought process that today is a hard day. Tomorrow is going to be different. And I may have a couple of really hard days, but hopefully I always try to keep that perspective of saying tomorrow's going to be different, tomorrow's going to be different. Because that's the only way for me that I have found to get through. That's the only way that I have known how to cope with that. So if anybody has any other ways of coping, please feel free to share. I'm not an exhaustive a resource in the sense that I have the answer for everybody. But and that's another component of why I think plugging into the community is so important. When it does become, consuming, when it does become something that is really kind of all up in your face, it's very important at that point, I think, to get involved with your community and to let us walk with you, lean on us, and let us support you in whatever way that we can. You are very welcome. I'm going to take one last question here, and then I have to get going. I actually have a couple of appointments myself today. What is the next medicine for ocular MG when Mestinon and prednisone do not work? Well, first I will say this. It's very difficult to get Mestinon by itself to work on diplopia and ptosis. It's typically very good for generalized MG weakness, and it can help with the ocular function. And for some people it does really well. But more often than not, we hear people struggle with saying that Mestinon is not really doing enough for their ocular, especially with double vision. Double vision is probably the thing that I see the most, where maybe the ptosis gets fixed, maybe your drooping eyelids can get fixed, but the double vision is not easily remedied. So that is always something that you start looking to secondary solutions for. And if prednisone is not working for you, I would hate to say IVIG or plasmapheresis for ocular MG, just because they are fairly invasive. They do come with risks, but they are a possibility. Immunosuppression might also be a possibility. Hopefully you won't have to get to that point, but I had been told by several MG experts, do not quote me, this is something that I am hearing from them, that CellCept at a low therapeutic dose and used in conjunction with Mestinon can help with diplopia as more of a targeted approach. So again, CellCept is far more aggressive than prednisone, but it is another option for you. I had somebody who had very severe double vision, was not responding to the primary and secondary options of Mestinon and steroids. The doctor tried IVIG. They get IVIG once every 8 weeks, and they're good. So that is an option for you. I don't know if you're not having generalized symptoms, if you can get approval for that. But it is something I do recommend, and I do think, Eileen, if you see Dr. Weiss like I think you do, I would just approach him. I know that he likes to go back to the Mestinon, and he will tweak that as much as possible, which he should. But I would tell him that, if this is something that's disruptive to you, that you would like to look for a tertiary option to be added on to that. So again, diplopia is it's one of those symptoms that can be very difficult to treat and manage, and I'm not really sure from a research standpoint why diplopia can be so difficult to manage. But if you are struggling with that, you're not alone. I would recommend going back to your physician and letting them know that your diplopia is still a big problem for you. One quick note, I am going to start making these live feeds. You're very welcome, Eileen, and I hope to see you in April. I am going to try to make these a fixture on the page. I cannot promise how frequently I'm going to be doing this. I would like to start doing this at least once a month. I'm going to try and see if we can do twice a month for the live feed, depending on how well you all respond and how well you like it. This was kind of a general live feed today, but what I'm going to try to do for the future is have more of a targeted or themed live feed. So it'll be Q&A about emergency care, Q&A about community, Q&A about awareness, whatever the topic is at hand. I'll kind of try to flesh it out and feel where you guys are and see what you're interested in, and go from there. I'm also going to put these on the YouTube channel. If you do not have the YouTube channel link, or if you have not subscribed, let me know. I will provide it for you, so that if you did not catch the live feed here, you are always welcome to please go into the YouTube channel, and you can reference it or share it as much as you want, and we will go from there. And if you have any questions for me that I did not cover in the live feed, maybe I missed it, I'm so sorry if I did. If I missed your question during the feed and you'd like for me to respond, please feel free to message me or to comment somewhere on the page. I promise you, I will get back to you at some point today, and we'll go from there. If you don't hear back from me, message me again, and I will get back to you. Sometimes I'm not notified of the messages right away, so but I do want to make sure that everybody's questions were covered, and we'll go from there. I love you guys, and I look forward to doing even bigger things. I will make announcements regarding the photo campaign right now. I think it's going to be local, but the video component that I'm going to be starting for awareness and for education, we're going to incorporate on a national level. So right now I'm working with a studio, and I'm working with a video production company, and so I'm very excited to see what the possibilities are in the future to get word out and hopefully encourage better communication between us and between the doctors. So I'm very excited about all those different projects, and I can't wait to share them with you as they're in production. And hopefully this year, and specifically this awareness month, is going to be even bigger than before. That's my goal. I want to talk to you. Okay, that's fine. Just go ahead and message me. I'm happy to talk with you on the phone. I'm happy to talk to you on here. Again, for those of you who would like to have my number for an emergency, please feel free to message me. I'm not going to give a public post about my number, but if you message me, I'm happy to give you my number if you need to text me or call me, or if you want your loved one to have it for emergencies. I do advocacy work for emergencies. I get phone calls all the time, and it's my pleasure to do that for you. So, alright you guys, I love you. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you for listening and sharing with me, and I look forward to the next time, and love you guys.